Why, welcome everyone to Not Legal Advice Volume 1. This is on the durable power of attorney, and today we'll be looking at the Georgia statutory power of attorney and the Idaho statutory power of attorney. I'm taking a look at these documents just because they're very similar in nature, and depending on the state that you're in, you might see that your statutory power of attorney is very similar to what Idaho and Georgia has done, because it's kind of the way to go, to be honest with you. Again, this is not legal advice, and even if you're an attorney right now watching this video, trying to figure out how to do a power of attorney, I would advise that you retain an estate planning attorney like myself in order to do your power of attorney, because you will likely mess this up if you don't retain counsel. They're not expensive documents to get an attorney to help you with, so just retain an attorney. That's my legal advice. If I'm going to give you legal advice, it's to retain an attorney, okay, to help you with your estate planning needs. All right, don't do it. Don't DIY this. Don't try this at home, kids. Okay, remember Nickelodeon when they're dumping slime on people? They say, don't try this at home. I'm telling you the same thing. Don't you dare. Don't you do it. Okay, so what is a durable power of attorney? It's incapacity planning, right? So you're trying to plan for when you're not dead, but you're maybe in a hospital bed or at home or a memory care facility, unable to handle your own financial affairs. And what this document does is it avoids court. Very important, right? Because if you become incapacitated, unable to handle your own financial affairs, and you're not dead, then someone has to petition to be appointed conservator or guardian over you. And that's expensive. Avoiding court is the goal when it comes to planning. You don't want disputes. You don't want court. You don't want judges. All right? So, incapacity planning, you want to designate trusted people, the people you trust the most. That's who's going to be involved on this. You're going to appoint trusted people to handle your financial affairs. Okay? This is necessary for everyone. Everyone should have a financial power of attorney in place. Okay? Even if you're 18, working at Jimmy John's, get an incapacity planning document in place, because it's very simple to retain an attorney and have it done, right? Use some of your tip money this month and go retain counsel and get a financial power of attorney in place so someone doesn't have to petition a court to get a conservatorship over you. Who's talking to you right now? My name is Thomas Atkins. I'm a father of two, a husband of one beautiful wife. I'm a trust and estate planning attorney at Atkins Law Offices. I'm a master of accountancy and a master of business administration. Yes, I spent far too much of my education, and I'm a former college professor, as you can tell from my lovely sweater. Okay, so that's who's talking to you right now. Let's take a look at financial powers of attorney. All right. So here's the Idaho statutory power of attorney, and here's Georgia statutory power of attorney. Okay? Let's look at Idaho first, just for fun. All right? So this power of attorney authorizes another person, your agent, to make decisions concerning your property for you. You're going to be the principal, right? So when you execute this document, you're giving immediate authority to somebody to manage your property, right? So they could take your real property and place it into a trust. They could take your real property and sell it. But again, don't be scared of these types of documents, okay? Because just like an employee who you give keys to the cash register, it doesn't mean that the cash inside is theirs. It means that they have to use the cash for your benefit. Just like the employee has to use the cash for their employer's benefit, right? They have to give change to the customers, put it in a safe at the end of the day. Everything that they do with that money, just because it's in their possession or control, doesn't mean that they can use it for whatever they want. So, instructions right out of the gate. Thank you, Idaho. So nice. And why is it called statutory power of attorney? Because this document is actually attached to a statute. There's actually a law in place that attaches this form and says, here you go, everybody. Here's a power of attorney. Use this. And right out of the gate, they give you some handy dandy instructions and handy dandy information about what this is. And we just pretty much covered exactly what this is, but always read the instructions, especially here, right? This reasonable compensation piece. Okay. It says your agent is entitled to reasonable compensation unless you state otherwise in the special instructions section. So what does that mean? So if they're managing your affairs, they're like, I think I want an hourly wage. I want $35 an hour, $70 an hour in order to sell Bob's property and put it into an account for his benefit so he can live out his life in a memory care facility, right? So they're going to be entitled to reasonable compensation unless down below the special instruction section you say otherwise. So again, it's important to read a couple of paragraphs. They kept it really short here, all right? Don't mess around. So, page 2. Who are you picking as your agent? Me, that's Thomas Wendell Atkins. Wendell, yes, that's my middle name. It's very classy and elegant, I know. So, I've selected my beautiful wife, Saida Rizay Atkins, as my initial agent, right? It's very common to pick your spouse as your initial agent. I mean, right? They should be the one we trust the most. Next up, my wonderful, intelligent, brilliant colleague, Jordan Matthew Ruski. He's my second pick. I say, if something should happen to Saida Rizay Atkins, if maybe she predeceases me, maybe she's incapacitated too, right? So if she's unable to serve for any reason, then I'm going over to Jordan, okay? I pick Jordan. And we list his address and phone number. And sometimes, I think it's a good practice to list their email address too, to be honest with you. And what do they say? Successor agent. So we want to say successor agent email address. There it is. Got that in. Now, next section, general grant of authority. What authority are you granting this individual? And you can initial any of these boxes. If you just want to grant, which is what I generally recommend, if you trust this person, then you need to grant them all the power possible. Again, because we're trying to avoid a court conservatorship or guardianship with this planning document, right? So if you're incapacitated, you should think about, okay, I'm going to initial this box right here. Don't type it in, okay? It's best to actually handwrite your initials in, and we'll do a video on executing these things. But again, all preceding subjects, preceding, I know it's a weird word, not a common word, means everything that comes before me. All of these other ones. I want them to have power to do my taxes. Yeah, I'm going to grant my wife power to do my taxes. I don't want to do that. Okay. Retirement plans, manage, right? Claims and litigation. Okay. So let's say I'm suing somebody, and I become incapacitated. Then I designate Saida Rizay Atkins to be my person to come in and pursue the matter for me. Real property, we talked about that. I want to grant Saida Rizay Atkins the ability to sell my property. Thank you, beautiful wife. Sell my property, put it in an account, and let me live out my life in a memory care facility. Okay? That's what stocks and bonds, sell, trade, tangible personal property, this lovely professor sweater that I'm wearing. Okay? All of those things. Okay? All preceding subjects, I'm going to initial this box right here. Now, this section is a little different. Specific authority. Okay? Grant of specific authority. So in here, as you can see, there's no box that says initial for all preceding subjects. When I say they, the legislature, wants you to really think about these. So my agent may not do any of the following specific acts for me unless I have initialed the specific authority listed below. So there's going to be no catch-all initially. You need to go through and initial all of these if you want to give them every possible power that's granted and able to be granted under the law of the state of Idaho for this particular document. Okay. This this is your estate planning, right? So let's say you have a revocable living trust in place, or you don't have a living revocable trust in place. You're granting the person, the agent, I'm granting Saida the power to create a trust for me while I'm incapacitated, amend my existing trust, revoke it, terminate it, right? That's a very powerful thing. That is someone being able to change my entire estate plan. It's a very important power, and it may need to be done. There's a number of situations I don't even want to go into because I want to keep this video short, but there's a number of situations why that power would be important. And again, to avoid a court conservatorship over your estate, this could be very helpful for a number of reasons. Medicaid planning is just right off the top of my head. Minor beneficiaries, right? Boom. You want to be able to amend things. If there's minor beneficiaries and you're giving outright distributions to them, I got to go to court now because somebody didn't initial this box. All right. So these are very, very powerful powers. And the legislature wanted you to go through and read each one and initial them. Limitations on the agent's power. You can specify your limitations under the special instructions. So I'm saying right here, remember they told me, unless I say so, they're going to give my agent compensation. But Saida, I'm so sorry. I'm taking away your compensation. No compensation for Saida. All right. That's just my little snippy attitude towards financial institutions and their little powers of attorney forms that they created outside of the laws of the states that should have the ability to create these types of forms. All right. Effective date. Okay. I feel it's very important for me, at least, not legal advice to you. Again, it's not legal advice. But for me, it's very important for me to have this effective date be immediate because I don't want, again, to have any costs associated with the appointment of my agent. So if it's not immediate, then somebody has to deem me incapacitated. So if it's not immediate, that means in order to make this power of attorney effective, if it's not immediate, then I have to go to a doctor. Saida's got to take me over to the doctor. And the doctor's like, yeah, this man is incapacitated. I'll sign something that says so. And then you can attach it to the back of this power of attorney, walk it over to Dirty Tramp Wells Fargo, and go from there. I shouldn't call Wells Fargo Dirty Tramp. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Wells Fargo. This power of attorney, effective immediately. That's the best way for me because I don't want Saida to have to take me to a doctor and ask them to create some documentation on their end that says I'm incapacitated. Boom. What doctor? That's another issue. Is finding a doctor who's comfortable with saying this man's incapacitated and I'm signing this for the purposes of somebody else to get access over his property. Right? Well, let's say I sign that and Saida gets access over his property, sells everything, steals all the money, and then Thomas's memory comes back and he's okay. His condition just goes away. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. His condition goes away and he's okay. And he says, doctor, what the hell did you do? Saida ran away to the Bahamas with my money. She ran away to Singapore with my money. Okay. She's going to go live out crazy rich Asian lifestyle all over again. All right. Nomination of conservatorship. Optional. Britney Spears should have maybe filled out this section, okay? Because her father was appointed conservator guardian, and that was obviously, over years and years and years of fighting, was not the choice that she would have wanted. So maybe she should have appointed somebody in a planning document. That's what I'm saying. You don't know Jimmy John's employee who's 18 years old if you're going to be popping off and becoming the next Britney Spears, right? Put this document in place right now. It's a couple $100, $275. Okay, $275. Use your tips. All right. Don't have Britney Spears' father be your conservator. Reliance on this power of attorney. This is saying, hey, Wells Fargo, guess what? You can rely on this. All right. It's under the law. You don't need to create your own little silly form. All right. And cause additional attorney's fees for your clients. Okay. Then you have your signature. And take a look down here. There's even a spot for the notary public to sign, right? Because she's going to watch you sign your name, and then she's going to notarize, put a little stamp on this document and say, yeah, Yeah, I saw him do it. I saw him do it. Don't forget the end pages, additional information. Oh my God, so helpful for the agent to understand this. Maybe even instructions in here that say, hey, if you want power over the real property, then you need to record this document in the county in which the property is located. Might be some important instructions in there about this. There might be even some important instructions about liability of agent. If Saida, you sell my property and you run off to go become Crazy Rich Asian Part 2, okay? No, it's not going to work. Let's take a look at George. Wow, very similar. Look at all this. It's like the same information. You should select someone you trust. Bold it in and underline. Very important because you're granting powers to someone. Oh, it even tells you about what this form does. That's very similar to Idaho. This form provides designation of agent. It's almost exactly the same. Take a look here. Page 2 starts off with exactly the same as Idaho. Me naming my beautiful, lovely wife, who's not going to sell my stuff and run away, right? And then me, designated Jordan. See, look, George has even got the line for the email addresses in there, because that's good. You know, we need to contact these people. We need to make sure that their contact information is clearly displayed and updated, right? So you may need to update this document if contact information changes, but there's Jordan. And then I've selected Tess, our very, very trustworthy office manager, to serve in my as my third successor agent. So if something happens to Saida, she's incapacitated or predeceases me, and something should happen to Jordan, maybe he just doesn't even want to serve. That's an option, folks. These people can say, I'm busy. I'm in Colorado operating a hemp business, selling marijuana by the truckloads. I don't want to come handle your memory care facility nonsense. All right? I'm living the good life. Okay? I'm living Crazy Rich Asians in Denver, Colorado. Okay? He doesn't want to do it. So then that means we go down to the next one, and that would be Tess. Thanks, Tess. Look at this. Granted general authority. We've seen this again. And again, the legislature, the Georgia legislature, those beautiful creatures, they're like, take a look. Here's the statute right here for you. All right? OCGA Chapter 6B of Title 10. So you could actually even Google that. What'd they say? OCGA 6B Title 10? We can Google it and see what that says. Hey, okay, look at that. Article 1, General Provisions. Article 2, Authority of Agents. So we could actually read kind of like these boxes that we're sitting here checking. Well, not checking, initialing, right? Don't check those boxes. Don't check those boxes and make that mistake. This isn't legal advice, but don't check those boxes. Just personally, I'm not going to check those boxes. I'm going to write my initials in. I'm going to follow the instructions, okay? And they tell you about the authority right here. So if you really want to read something, you're like, well, what does this mean if I just initial real property? If I just initial real property, what does that mean? It means this. It means all of that. Okay? Thanks, Georgia. That's really nice that you put the statute right there so we could Google it and find out what it means when I initial this box. Well, let's see if Georgia does the same thing as I. Oh my God, it does. All preceding subjects. All right? So all those things that come before me, you could just initial this one box down here and leave all these boxes blank. And essentially that means that if I do that, then all these boxes are they're gonna get all these powers. So if I initial this one box right here, they get all of these powers. Oh, brilliant, George. Good job. Same as Idaho. Grant a specific authority. Okay? This is, again, my agent shall not do any of the following unless I have initialed all of these. And again, do we have a all proceeding? No. No, we don't. We have to go through and make sure. We have to really think about it. Man, it's even the same. Look at this. Create, fund, amend, revoke, or terminate an inter vivos trust, a living trust. Man, it's almost like Georgia and Idaho are best friends or something like that, coming out with the same statutory powers of attorneys. They're just brilliant. Make gifts, right? So if you want to grant these powers, you want to give them every possible bit of authority that they have, you have to initial all of these boxes. Special instructions. I threw in my all financial institutions shall honor this document and not trouble my agent in any way, Wells Fargo, such as wanting them to fill out the institution's form. Yeah, it's just my little snippy attitude towards financial institutions with their silly forms that they have, even though there's already a form out there for these types of grants of authority. Well, what about the compensation piece? Well, that's interesting. What's going on here? How come I didn't say no compensation for my agent? Well, and I guess Georgia and Idaho are a little bit different, because in Georgia, we presume, I think, right? Do they presume compensation? No compensation? Let's do a command F and compensation. All right. Your agent, it is different than Idaho. Your agent is not entitled to any compensation unless you state otherwise in the special instruction. Right? Remember, in Idaho was your agent is entitled to compensation unless you say something in special instructions. It's important to read these things. Folks, let's do some reading. I know the TikTok's really appealing over doing some reading on this power of attorney form, but it's important, right? Right, guys? Signature, no surprises there. My information, don't leave this stuff blank, okay? And if you don't have an email address, if you're that generation, or if you're just really off the grid, what was that Tom Cruise character? Jack Reacher. If you're Jack Reacher, you want to be off the grid and don't have an email address, just write NA, non-applicable, okay? It's not good to see some blank lines on this. Not legal advice, but I'm just saying I'm not going to put blank lines on this, all right? It's not a good idea for me. I don't know about for you. Oh, Georgia's a little bit different. They want a witness, and that's good. It's a good idea. So I'm going to sign, a witness is going to sign, and then the notary is going to come in and notarize signatures, witness signature, and then their witness information, witness print name, again, witness address, telephone number, email address. Don't leave them blank. Oh my goodness. Georgia, to put important information for the agent on the back of their form, just like Idaho. They're like besties. Wonderful besties. They got 2 pages of this. They even throw in the liability of agent. Don't steal the stuff, okay? Don't steal it. We're just giving you the keys to the cash register, all right? Don't you do it. Don't you do it. All right, folks. Well, I just want to say thanks for listening. It's not legal advice, but, it's just me doing my own power of attorney. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see you next time on Volume 2, where we talk about something different. Bye, guys.